which is definitely a boon for that move. He's risking very little to get there. And now he has sticky bombs up on these rifles, so we'll have to see if he can get this Puma out of here alive.
For the time being, however, the Puma is causing all that important manpower drain on the American player. And I'm not so sure about the doctrine choice by the Wehrmacht player, which is Blitzkrieg, and he has already his first Stormtrooper squad on the field, not upgrading it with any weapon, so that's kind of weird as well, although he does have the munition to do so. And was that the loss of a rifleman squad in the West?
It sure was.
By the victory point, yeah. That doesn't bode well for the American player. However, I am hearing AT guns.
Yes, we had an AT gun just pop out of the motor pool, turn the corner, take a couple of shots at the Puma, and the Puma goes down in the base. And without the Sturm Armory in place there, and these flamers still doing their damage in the base, that's going to be fairly tough. You know, to sit there and continue pounding on the stormtroopers obviously isn't cheap manpower-wise, but to lose the buildings, the base MG, and in the process of that, that's a fairly, you know, I would trade that for a Flamer engineer squad almost any day.
It's actually a good point. Although I would, if I were in the American player's shoes, I would just have backed off from the Wehrmacht player's base after I took down the Sturm Armory and the first bunker. I think he risked it a bit too much going for the Wehrmacht quarters as well, especially since if there are some units to be built out of that Wehrmacht quarters, I mean, the Wehrmacht player has already so many Wehrmacht quarters units out that I don't think he was intending on building any more out of it.
No, and I agree with that, and you can leave the Wehrmacht quarters at that point, you know, and that's fine. We have a mine going off outside of the strategic point, taking out 3 riflemen. It just goes to show you, though, to a certain extent, obviously mines outside of a point, fairly obvious that people are going to walk across it, but look, we have this mine outside of the house door. You know, with a heavy MG play, you can expect to see it go there. But then we have this mine, this third mine right in a row that was in this hedgerow, and that blew up as well. And it just goes to show you, put mines down. People will walk over them eventually.
That's true. In the meantime, I feel the Wehrmacht player is getting a bit sloppy as far as his MG micro goes. He has 3 MG42s, 2 were previously covering the the northmost bridge. However, he did actually reposition them here. An engineer squad going down. A lot of infantry losses on the American player. I'm not sure if he will be able to recover from so many infantry losses, especially when he have invested a lot of fuel into rifleman upgrades and a lot of munitions, not only in getting engineers upgrades, but also in using them to build demo charges. You need to keep those engines alive.
Well, absolutely, and not only that, but you know, you have to continue the teching war, and obviously engines are good for repairing vehicles once you've got an M8 out on the field, and with the defensive operations, obviously the riflemen can they plant mines and do tank traps and do those things, but they still can't repair anything. We do have a minesweeper squad up, I think 1 for each side, the Wehrmacht and the American player. And yeah, I agree, the Wehrmacht player has been pretty remiss in keeping his engineers alive in the whole process.
Yeah, that's something that he did well. He even tries to cut off the American player completely from that northmost bridge and leading to the center of the map. And he must probably has achieved that. And in the meantime, he even teched up even more. He went up to tier 4, to battle phase, and got out his Panzer command. So we may be seeing some tanks anytime now.
Yeah, when we see a storm squad actually revealed by a wandering rifleman, and they pop out, and being in red cover, they go ahead and get out of there. This rifle squad was also saved in the process. It looks like, did the Wehrmacht player lose his sniper? It looks like he ran over a mine.
He did. He'd run over the mine near the westmost victory point, the mine that was placed in between three of those hay stacks, whatever they are called. Another unusual location that we actually saw paying off.
Yeah, and again, mines everywhere. If anyone ever uses the Company Heroes Replay Analyzer, look at the heat map where all of the units go. You'd be amazed at how much of the map gets covered by people playing this game. I mean, it's incredible.
That's true. As I said before, mines are good almost everywhere except, for the borders of the map, because nobody goes at the borders of the map wandering there, trying to find out, I don't know what. And Ostwind on the field. 180 gun to face it off and nothing more.
Yeah, we
kind of obvious.
Well, we had an M8 coming out. It actually looks like he canceled it and probably heard the Ostwind treads in the process. He's getting a second AT gun up to try and help him take care of that.
The guns, of course, more than good against the Wehrmacht tanks. However, you do still need to support them, and with stormtroopers on the field, meaning cloaked troops that have also the ability to throw the bundle nade that actually destroys AT guns, or even kill the AT gun outright using their Panzerschrecks that actually one of the stormtrooper squad has. I do not feel that that easy with that choice of the American player getting another AT gun on the field. I would think at this moment it would be much better off for him to just use whatever fuel he has to take up to get a tank depot.
He also took and tech to mines, and this late in the game, especially when not mines, yeah, tech into mines, right? He tech to grenades, those things that you throw, and I don't know that I would have done that at this point, unless he's looking to get a little rifle vet around the edges or something. That's 40 fuel that could be applied towards a more suitable counter to the Ostwind that you knew was on the field while the mines were being, yeah, right, grenades were being upgraded.
Yeah, I don't think I feel that good about the choice of grenades as well, although it needs to be said that the Wehrmacht player does not really have any veterancy or any of his units. So stormtroopers, Volksgrenadiers, NMGs are still very vulnerable to that heavy fire that riflemen can put out with their bars or their nades. So maybe that's exactly the thought process behind those nades, that he has not seen veterancy up to now from the Wehrmacht player.
Well, you've seen Tier 3, you've seen Stormtroopers, so you know he's Blitz at this point. That's a given. And so you have to kind of take a look at that at this point and expect that the veterancy is going to be focused more on the tanks involved.
True, because the Wehrmacht player that goes Blitz always has in the back of his mind to get that figure out. And he should have also in his mind to micro his tank, something that we don't see happening in the East, and that Ostwind gets another sticky and will most probably go down eventually if that 80 guns make up their minds and try to move against that Ostwind.
Yeah, that's an awful long distance to go though in the whole process, and while that's happening, he's getting something together over here on the west side. It looks like he may be looking to flank an attack coming up here. We have 2 squads of stormtroopers, one of which is just about to run over a mine. It doesn't actually kill a single member, and so we just get some damage going off on him.
Yeah, that was weird. Equally weird was Rifleman squad trying to stick the Ostwind and taking so many losses in the process that actually would change their mind and head back into the American player's base.
Now this was kind of a fortuitous meeting, wasn't it? The Wehrmacht player hasn't had those units set up down there in the south. They were just kind of wandering over in that direction, weren't they, to go over and support the Ostwind on the east side there?
Yeah, most probably. Those engineers were most probably gearing up for another attempt at destroying the Wehrmacht player's base that actually did not come to fruition. Luckily, of course, for the Wehrmacht player, not so lucky for the American player, who has, however, stabilized in these moments of the game. He has, his AT guns up, his infantry is all powerful in the field, taking into account the fact that the Wehrmacht player does not have any veterans in his infantry, and bars and grenades will actually destroy folks and even stormtroopers. MGs are still around, and I don't know how I feel about two Ostwinds right now on the field for the Wehrmacht player. I think one would be enough, but anyway, it's his game.
Well, and we have the level 2 supply yard upgrade up, which pretty much drained the American player of all of his fuel. He's got about 500 in the way of manpower and about 40 fuel right now, which means we're not going to see a tank depot for another 3 or so minutes, which a tank depot coming out at 27 minutes into the game, kind of late.
It is kind of late, and taking what you said into account, the supply yard upgrade level 2, if I were to use my game knowledge into trying to predict what the American player will do, he most probably is gearing up for off-map combat groups and wants that manpower to not go down as the game goes on. Which actually may turn out to be good for him, provided, of course, he gets some M10s out of the off-map combat group.
He's currently only got 4 rifleman squad, 2 engineers, and 2 AT guns on the field. So, this is one of those spots where I really would like to see just a little more coming out of this American force. He's floating a little manpower, a little fuel, totally granted, and I get that. But he's focusing a little more on capping than I probably would. He's moving this AT gun awfully far forward. You've got 1 rifle squad, like half of a rifle squad. You got 3 rifle squads over on that side, but if that AT gun gets circled, those rifle squads are going to be hurting. Or if infantry comes over to try and meet them, they're not going to be doing well.
Yeah, it's a very open position for the AT gun, but on the other hand, you need to actually think that the American player needs to hold something down firmly. He cannot really play that harassment game with Ostwinds on the field. Ostwinds that are even at the veterans level 1, and I failed to mention that the Wehrmacht player finally got his comfort center up, has veterans level 1 on his tanks, is going for veterans level 2 on his infantry, which will of course benefit his stormtroopers greatly, since they will get elite armor and they will be a little bit more sturdy against the American infantry. And maybe that AT gun was not there not only to protect that area, but also maybe the American player is gearing once again for some form of base attack.
Oh God, the engineer squad that was getting reamed by this stormtrooper squad with the MP44s on them, or MP40s, I can't remember. The assault rifles were chasing this engineer squad down, happened to run over a mine. The mine blew up the engineers and pinned the stormtroopers, which actually helped keep the riflemen that are still crawling on the retreat. Probably going to take them somewhere close to about 5 minutes to come back to the field, because they're going to be disabled as they crawl along the way to get here. Down here in the south, we have the AT gun being circled by 2 Ostwinds. We've got a sticky out on 1. He tries to recruit one of the Ostwinds and just gets torn up. Did he lose? No, actually, he just barely did not. We see an off-map combat group coming in, which is a great call on your part. We got 2 30 cals, an M10, which is a great pull, and a rifle squad, which, well, at this point isn't working too well for him. So,
well, that M10, however, is going to be a lot of trouble for the Wehrmacht player to deal with, since his fuel income is not that great at the moment, and it will take a bit of a time to get a Panzer IV out in order to deal with us with that M10. The only thing he has, of course, is those stormtroopers that just started upgrading with another Shrek, so 2 Shreks for them. However, it remains to be seen how much damage this M10 is going to do on the Ostwinds. And where these 2 HMG teams for the American player came with the OMCG, that's hilarious.
Yeah, as though you really needed 230 cals at this point. He does clip over a Pioneer squad, and believe it or not, the Ostwinds, they're not doing much, but particularly when they're behind that M10, they at least do a little, and they're delaying for this double Shrek Storm squad, which is now approaching, has its second Shrek lighten up. We get 1, 2 hits, the main gun destroyed. This thing needs to get out of here now. I don't really see it surviving very long.
Yeah, it would be a close call, but Panzerschrecks notoriously inaccurate at long range against American armor, so it may actually turn out that this M10 is going to live, especially since it didn't have a damaged engine even at such low health.
Oh,
so I guess lucky break for the American player.
It's sitting there. Why is it sitting there? Oh, and it goes down to the Ostwind with a rear shot. That Ostwind has taken down 2 tanks? That doesn't even make any sense. There hasn't been 2 tanks.
It's the AT gun. It counts as a tank.
Aha, there we go.
Yeah.
So we have a 30 cal facing off against an MG in a building. The MG42 not doing too badly, particularly. You're in unequal cover in between those two. The 30 cal does more damage than the MG42 does, but the MG42 has a better range, and currently in the retail actually has a better ready aim fire time, where it actually begins firing at enemies in its arc of fire faster than the 30 cal does, which is why you don't see a lot of heavy American HMG play.